Get ready to get in the game. Stretch, strengthen, live, and thrive. You can be a winning athlete in the game of life. It's the Peel Appeal with author and corrective exercise specialist Matt Heel.
Hey, this is Matt Peel with the Peel Appeal podcast. How are you today? What's happening out there in your world? Like literally world, right? Because this is on the internet, the World Wide Web. So you could be anywhere on this planet from Antarctica to Europe to North America, South America, wherever it is. So wherever you're at right now, welcome. Glad to have you along. Today, we're going to talk about kids, youth sports, but not just like go play youth sports or promoting one specific youth sport. We're going to talk about something that probably is not on your mind, but it is the mind. So, what am I talking about? Well, let's get into it and see. So, from 5 to 12 years old, youth sports plays a big role in everyone's weekend. It did in mine when I was growing up and with my son. That you're all around the field, whatever it may be. But besides the fun and the exercise, what are the mental and emotional benefits of youth sports? Have you ever thought about that before? As you drop your kid off for soccer practice or a baseball game or a football game or maybe even golf, whatever it may be, what's going on the emotional side? What's going on their mental side that they might be getting benefits from that you never really kind of thought about before, huh? It's pretty interesting to me as I learned about the importance of physical activity and exercise and what it does on a mental basis. And then in working with physical education programs and talking about social emotional learning and how things like free play and sports in school and just out on recess helps with the development of kids. So we're going to get into that and how that all brings itself around, besides just from the physical, the exercise part of it. But what's so important about sports on a cognitive level? So a little bit about me, right? When I grew up, I played as a kid. So from 5 to 12 years old, I played soccer, I've played t-ball, baseball, I've done basketball. Um, in eighth grade, I did actually lacrosse for a year when I lived in New Jersey. I've played golf. I've played tennis. Uh, and I've played all sorts of sports. Some of those obviously are team sports. Some of those are individual sports. But they've always played a major role in my life. And today, I kind of call myself Sporty Spice, right? I'm big into sports, physical activity, obviously exercise. Like, don't ask me to do arts and crafts. I am not arts and crafts Spice. So if you got arts and crafts, hey, that's a different Spice Girl or Spice Dude. It's not me. But on the emotional side and the mental side, what have these sports done? Well, it's been a great way for me to meet friends. I grew up in California, in Los Angeles area, and sports was a great way to meet kids, obviously not at my school, and develop some friendships outside of just the kids that I see on a daily basis. Some of those resulted into a little bit longer term. Some of them not so much, or sometimes there's also kids at my school that I also played sports with. So I was able to develop a broader, deeper friendship with them because we had more than just what was going on in class or at recess to talk about. And he made some sports camps too as a result. And in doing that and learning how to make friends and meeting kids from different schools and knowing how to integrate and knowing how to talk and respect your coaches and other parents, when then after seventh grade, I moved to New Jersey, sports was a way for me to help meet new kids as I played on a new soccer team even before school started. And while I was the oldest kid on the team, um, it was still a chance to meet new people in the area and get to know them. And then when I got into the school and playing sports also helped me because I played soccer and basketball and on the lacrosse team out there. Again, different kids play different sports. So it allowed those multiple friendships to develop and easier to assimilate myself into school. Then when I moved down to Louisiana, and in the middle of my ninth grade year, again, playing soccer at that point in time only helped me to still integrate into school and meet other kids. And again, build those longer lasting friendships. And then just also my love of sports overall helped me meet a different set of kids. Even though they didn't play soccer, we played backyard football, we played basketball in the driveway. And then all those things then just carried out into life itself and learning how to be on a team, learning how to participate on a team, learning how to interact and respect the integrity, the leadership. All those things were what cognitive benefits of what playing sports is about. So some of the information too I'm going to share with you is actually directly from the National Academy of Sports Medicine Performance Enhancement Sports certification notes that I've taken and getting it. And I want to give you some context that's just not, that's my personal experience, but what are some of the things that are actually evidence for it? And maybe you've experienced this in your time growing up playing sports or with your kids. If you didn't play sports, maybe your kids are going through this, or maybe grandkids, depending on how old you are. So NASM says that there's increasing evidence shows that participating in sports has benefits above the physical effects, including improved mental and social health, improved social interaction, self-esteem, fewer depressive symptoms, and reduced stress. Further research has demonstrated that the academic performance of children and adolescents is linked to physical activity. And I think that's a big part. And especially as we get into like recess and free play. And that's where social emotional learning comes in. Is kids are able to out on the recess, and when we take away recess, then this is one of the reasons why we have so much hyperactivity in schools. We want us to have more butts in the seat and more time in front of the computer, but that scientifically, that doesn't really help them. It's actually going outside and playing and going through all these things, conflict resolution, dealing with adversity, um, building BDNF1 hormone through physical exercise, learning things like sportsmanship, how to get along even when shit doesn't go your way, right? You can't just punch the kid. What happens? You go to the office, and then mom gets called. And then if you do that more than once, not only go to the office, at least in our day, well, maybe you get spanked. If not at school, then you sure as hell get it when you get home, right? You don't want an ass whooping just because he punched a kid because he scored a touchdown on you, right? That doesn't work because that doesn't work out in the real life. Just because someone sold more in a month than you can't just go up and punch them. You'll get arrested and you'll get fired. So sports and free play are important in the social and emotional learning of kids. That's a cognitive benefit that we really don't think about. Just go out there and play, go out there and do something. That's great, but there's reasons why we need to from a mental health standpoint. So it's not necessary, just say, okay, well, sports, man. Well, which sport should my kid play, or what sport should we be playing in, and do we need to specialize at such an early age? The answer is there's not one sport you need to play, and there's no science that says early sports specialization at an early age, and I'd say early age meaning before 12 years old, is more beneficial to getting anybody a college scholarship or them going pro. Um, at all. In fact, it's the opposite. Early sports specialization can increase injuries. It can increase burnout. It can increase, negative behavior type because you're not going into other things, not learning other activities, not using your body in different multiple ways at an early age. One, to figure out what you want to do. Sports is a billion. Youth sports is billions of dollars every year is spent on it. And a lot of times these coaches aren't necessarily certified. Like for some baseball, for example, you can just go and start up a team whenever you want. You don't necessarily have to be pass a certification course. Same thing with softball. So it's important to do multiple sports in different seasons. Again, not necessarily doing as I coach soccer as an adult in Gulfport, Mississippi. You had basketball and soccer for a little bit going on simultaneously. And you had kids playing both. Well, in the end, both teams suffer because the kid is going from one practice to the other, one game to the other, missing one practice, going to another game. Just do one. That way he gets the most or she gets the most out of that sport with that team, and there's not burnout and injury. So training programs for youth athletes, they must focus really first on general athleticism while keeping it fun and building a desire to remain active. This is again from the NASM notes. Research shows that young athletes grow into active adults. In one long-term study, individuals who participate in sports between the ages of 9 and 18 were 5 to 6 more times likely to be active into adulthood. And I've seen that too with me and with other people. People that played high school, college sports maintain that later. The NCAA reports that only 7% of the 7 million high school athletes progress to collegiate athletics. Of that group, only 2% become pro athletes. Back to early sports specialization, it doesn't work. There is the evidence. It doesn't matter if you only play soccer. I'll click on soccer because that's when I went at the age of 8, and I only play soccer. The chances of still getting college scholarship and going pro are very, very low. So, talking about sports performance coach must understand that youth and adolescent athletes are not miniature adults. The goal when working with kids is to motivate them to enjoy athletics and to encourage physical activity throughout adulthood. All right, so it's not just about, hey, let me do this one sport now, again, at 8 years old, because he's going to need it because my kid's going pro. How often have you heard that? How often does that happen? Rare. Even the kid who's the stellar kid on your team, guess what? Probably still not getting a scholarship. For example, again, my high school, who really went to a true D1 school, one kid. His name is Jason Kreis, and he is the half a percenter who actually went on to play on the U.S. men's national team and pro in MLS. So your kid's not going to make it. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but odds are he's not or she is not going to go that far. So let's just get out there and play. Have a good time. Until they're 12 years old, lots of recreational sports. If they really enjoy it, hey, you can go to one sport or start to transition from 3 or 4, maybe to 2, or maybe down to 3. Now, if someone is in like cheer or maybe gymnastics or like diving, those are very specific skill sets that are developed at an early age. But barring that, it is important to play multiple sports. Let's look at some of the top pro athletes. Let's go like Deion Sanders, right, or Herschel Walker, if you're old enough like me to remember. These guys played multiple sports and good enough to do it at pro level in multiple sports. Most of your big time athletes played multiple sports in high school. Like Drew Brees, for example, played baseball. He was a shortstop, and he was a quarterback. I think he might have also played tennis. But there's other athletes, pro athletes, that played multiple sports growing up, and that's how they actually reduce their injuries. They met more friends. They develop more skills. They develop more cognitively. So it's important to introduce kids to a variety of sports at an early age. Let them explore. Let them figure out what they like. If they don't like one sport after a couple seasons, okay, no problem. You drop that sport and maybe try something else. If that doesn't work, that's okay. But let them go through the season. Let them figure it out. Let them meet new friends. Let them develop all these things mentally, emotionally, socially that they're not going to get just by sitting in front of a screen. And don't believe that hype. Remember, one sport before junior high. It's really not until junior high that you want to start specializing and say, okay, what do I really like? Because then, your competition does go up, and you want to kind of, figure out, what do I like? What am I going to be good at? Maybe it is still 2 or 3 sports, and as long as they don't compete within seasons, that's great. Because different skills are required, different neural pathways in different sports. So they all improve academic performance, they improve balance, they improve coordination, they improve agility, and they improve social, emotional learning. It's not really a soapbox, but I'm really a big fan of youth sports for not just, hey, let's play and get a pro scholarship. I mean, go pro, get a scholarship. There's a lot of cognitive benefits for it. So I hope you learned something today. Another thing you can learn is by ordering my book. Right? Go to my website, mattpeel.com. Pull the bottom, it sends you a link to Amazon, or go to Amazon directly. Get The Athlete in the Game of Life on Kindle, audiobook, or paperback. And of course, subscribe to the Peel Appeal podcast. Subscribe, like, share wherever you get your podcasts. And until next time, this is Matt Peel with the Peel Appeal. Have a great day.
Are you ready to get in the game? Get personal help, sign up for our newsletter, and pick up your copy of Athlete in the Game of Life, the book, all at mattpeel.com. Thanks for listening.